The Florida Historical Society presents Florida Frontiers is made possible in part by the Jessie Ball DuPont Fund and by
Florida's Space Coast Office of Tourism, representing destinations from Titusville to Cocoa Beach to Melbourne Beach. The Space Coast has a diverse 72 miles of beach, including surf towns and sea turtle nests. We have inspiring attractions, including the Kennedy Space Center, Brevard Museum of History and Natural Science, and the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. More information is available at www.visitspacecoast.com.
and by the Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, the Florida Council of Arts and Culture, and the state of Florida. Florida history and culture from the Ice Age to the Space Age is on display at the Brevard Museum of History and Natural Science, located at 2201 Michigan Avenue in Cocoa. The museum has nature trails through 20 acres of 3 Florida ecosystems. The People of Windover exhibition features information about Florida's prehistoric past and actual artifacts used between 7,000 and 8,000 years ago. More information at brevardmuseum.org. Welcome to Florida Frontiers, presented by the Florida Historical Society. I'm Ben Brotmarkle. Since 1953, the Florida Folk Festival has been held here at the Stephen Foster Folk Culture Center State Park. The annual event celebrates Florida's diverse cultural heritage through music, dance, storytelling, food, exhibits, and more.
This is the place where Florida tradition meets modern Florida, where people have the chance to come and get away from the workaday world and learn about what Florida really is, what real Florida is. Standing here on the banks of the Suwannee, I remember the first time I played down here on this stage with Frank Thomas. Just unbelievable. It's goosebumps. Between here and places like the Old Marble Stage that used to be the main stage for the Florida Folk Festival, and you feel the ghosts of the people that were here before. You feel the traditions. You feel Cousin Thelma Bolton being here. You feel Gamble Rogers here. You feel Will McLean here, and it's just an awesome opportunity for folks like me to be able to come out here once a year and share what we have to share about the state of Florida.
This area where we're at right now up here in North Florida, this was a big tobacco growing country. Cotton was big up here. And I guess, you know, back before the war, they had plantations up here. Probably had slaves working on the plantations and things. Florida, it's just fascinating to me, the history of it. All the way back through the Spanish and the British, and then the crackers came in, and here we are today.
You know, I feel it's important to maintain our traditions because, you know, when I'm making things, they're not just objects. Those objects are carrying the knowledge and skills of, you know, all of my ancestors. So there's a lot of things associated with it. So it's not just making a spoon. There's a lot more to it. There's, again, all these different traditional knowledges that are associated with these objects. And sometimes things have just what you call traditional protocol as well. There's we have different rules and etiquette that go along with just about everything in Seminole culture, and so creating objects is not an exception to that.
Well, I picked it up watching my father and my brothers, especially my father. I would sit and watch him making nets because it was the same thing. I can tell you what, I ate a lot of fish and grits growing up, I can tell you. But it was a fun time to learn to do this, and I just hope to pass it on.
To me, there's so many different styles of dancing and music, and this is what spoke to me when I came here 30 years ago. And I think there's something here that speaks to everybody because we're all from, you know, some other place when we go back. And I think there's something that touches everybody, and it's just really nice to share that. Every time we come, somebody else gets excited and starts dancing, so that's pretty special.
I think what's important about keeping the tradition of sacred harp alive is that, well, the music's just beautiful. It is a tool by which people can learn to sing. That's what it was always intended to be. It also allows people to express themselves. Shape note singing is sung full out in full voice. There's no dynamics other than full on singing. So for a lot of people, it lets them express themselves fully without any constraints in singing. Historically, I think it's important to keep this alive because it lets people, especially Southerners, be Southerners in and of them in their own right. And so you'll see people acting perfectly naturally.
I took an early retirement just to do my stories, just to go to school, libraries, festival, all over the world to tell my stories. So that makes me happy to have been able to keep the culture.
There's one that I found in a book, actually, that I've never heard anybody record. It's called I Can't Dance Chicken Foot, Can't Dance Nothing. And I found it's an old fiddle tune in a book. I'm starting to add that to my show now. But I just like that song. I think it's cool. It's a takeoff of like Black Eyed Susan or one of those old melodies. But it's got its own lyrics and stuff to it. I may play it today over here if I bust the fiddle out, but we'll see. But I like those old songs like that. You know, it was kind of like a lost song, and I just saw it in a book. It just had the melody written out in the words. So I'm like trying to bring some of those old lost songs, try to bring those back too, as well as write new ones about Florida and Florida culture and stuff. So.
Well, the Florida Folk Festival is very interesting because it's been going since 1953. So it's the longest running state folk festival in the country. And it's gone through many iterations over the years, as you can imagine. But it now is a combination of many things. To some people, it's like a family reunion because they've been coming for generations, really. Some people, the family's been coming since the 1950s, and now the third generation of children are growing up, beginning to play music and loving all kinds of folk music. To those of us who are folklorists, we have different stages where we try to showcase the traditional culture of Florida that people wouldn't know. So each year there's a theme or there's a occupation or an ethnic group that's featured in the folk life area, and people get to know more in depth. So one year it would be the Menorcans of St. Augustine, or one year it might be, you know, people who are involved with the surfing industry of Florida. It just depends, and most people don't think of that as being folklore, but it is. And so it's a gathering in a very rural part of the state, so the whole, all the little communities right there in Hamilton County and Suwannee County and near Lake City, they actually benefit from, you know, all of these folks coming there once a year for this weekend celebration.
The Suwannee River passes through Stephen Foster Folk Culture Center State Park in White Springs. Old trees add to the beautiful natural setting. Every Memorial Day weekend, thousands of people converge at the park to experience a wide variety of Florida folk music, traditional dancing passed down from generation to generation, storytelling from different cultural groups, and food including barbecue, collard greens, cornbread, shrimp gumbo, homemade ice cream, and other festival food. The Florida Folk Festival emerged out of a national movement to celebrate our cultural heritage.
Well, the Florida Folk Festival was an outgrowth of the National Folk Festival. Back in 1934, a woman named Sarah Gertrude Knott was hired by the WPA. It was a WPA-inspired project. Sarah was good friends with the Roosevelts. She wanted to put on a spectacle, a huge festival that would celebrate the diversity of people in the United States. And this is the first time that anything like this had ever been done. There had been festivals that would be ethnically based or maybe community based, but there was nothing on the scale of a national festival to bring together all the different groups and everybody celebrate everybody else's culture. And so she went to the first festival, National Folk Festival, was in St. Louis, Missouri. and it included things that we think of now today as being part of every folk festival. It included African American gospel singers and blues singers. It included Native American dancers. It included East Indian dance. It included bluegrass. It included old-time music, what we call old-time music. Back then, I think they called it hillbilly music. But this was a part of, it was during the Great Depression. It was when people really needed to, I think, get a boost to really understand how wonderful the country was. Even though money was tight and people were struggling, there was still something to celebrate. And culture was it.
In 1952, the Florida Federation of Music Clubs decided that Florida needed its own folk festival. Thelma A. Bolton, also known as Cousin Thelma, was a primary organizer of the event from the beginning.
Thelma had been a performer at the National Folk Festival. She was a storyteller and an actress. She taught drama and theater in high schools in, I think, Alachua County. So she had gone up and she told stories, and she was known as Cousin Thelma. And Sarah Gertrude Knott had been approached by the music clubs to start a Florida folk festival at the Stephen Foster Center in White Springs, Florida, in the middle of nowhere on the Swanee River. Of course, he never saw the Swanee River, but that doesn't matter. Stephen Foster Center was there, and they wanted a festival just like the National Folk Festival. So Sarah Gertrude Knott did the first festival, which was 1953. And the music clubs, she told them, we really need somebody who's local, who knows Florida, because I don't know Florida, and somebody's got to get these people together. And so Thelma became the director of the festival for the second year, and she was the sole director for many, many years. She definitely, she took Sarah Gertrude Knott's model and it kind of replicated it on the state level. So the first festivals, for instance, had Josie Billy and some of the elders of the Seminole tribe who came up, and that was really exotic for people in rural North Florida. They might have lived in Florida all their lives, but had never really seen a real Seminole. She had African American gospel singers. She had bluegrass players. She had the Greeks from Tarpon Springs came in very early and played Greek music. So she took that model and replicated it in rural North Florida, a town of 800 people. And the model is a good one. And so it went on from there.
Sometimes I will give assignments to somebody. Go write a song about this or about that. The main reason for that was Cousin Thelma Bolton. She used to be ran this folk festival so many years. She hemmed me up one time backstage, got to putting her finger in my, she was an old school teacher, retired. She scared me good. But she was telling me about she was riding the bus one morning real early, and they come up on this thing where they had a chain across the road with a red lantern hanging across, and they stopped the bus and they got to sitting there listening, and they heard guns, and they said it was like a war going on. And she said, now they had that old Ma Barker and her son Doc hemmed up in that house down there, and they killed him right then. She said, now you go write a song about that, and you have that for me the next time I see you. I avoided the rest of the festival. But she would do that to a lot of people. She would assign songs. So I thought, well, that's not a bad song I wrote. And if it worked for her, why couldn't it work, for other people? So I started giving out some assignments. And that's how that all kind of happened.
In addition to great performances here at the Florida Folk Festival, there's opportunities for hands-on experiences like this banjo workshop led by Clay Black. So Clay, what's the first thing I need to know about playing the banjo?
Well, the various styles of banjo picking. The Scruggs style has probably been most popular since the early 1940s. Before that, it was called overhand or claw hammer. And that was basically displaced by the Scruggs style. But during the 1960s, during the folk revival, the claw hammer or the overhand style, which my mentor calls it, became prominent again, and that's the old-time style that we're working on here. And essentially, it's sometimes called claw hammer because your fist is curled over, and you basically strike the strings down. So that's all you need to know essentially right there. Practice that about 500 hours, and you'll be a banjo player.
Okay.
You'll be a banjo player before you leave here if you can do that.
All right.
So basically, you hit one string for the melody note,
right,
and then you put the rhythm in with that. So it's kind of a bump ditty rhythm, the melody note and a brush thumb. And you can really get a good rhythm going. It kind of sounds like this when you get a gun blast. And just keep going at it, and you'll be a banjo player in no time.
Sounds great. Well, I'll keep working on it. Thank you.
We started doing a workshop down on the river, at that river gazebo, and it's about Florida. Everybody that comes through there that sings a song, the song has to be about Florida. The Florida people, the rivers, the whatever, it's got to be related to Florida. A lot of people started writing songs so they could be on that workshop. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that anywhere you go around this festival, you'll hear and see people singing songs about the history or love or something about the state of Florida, or the Swanee River, or Lake Okeechobee, or wherever it might be.
The apprenticeship program is for artists, master artists who have a skill, whether it's painting or whether it's, building surfboards or knives or whatever they may do. And in my case, it's building handmade cast nets, which is just about a lost art. Basically, they're made by hand. Everything about it, there's nothing in it machine made, and it's a dying art. And like I say, I'm perhaps one of the last people around that still does it. That still makes them by hand. They cast so much nicer. They're weighted properly. They open nice, and they'll definitely catch more fish, and they'll last a lot longer than the monofilament. They brought the skill with them because it was part of their survival. Because their time at New Smyrna was one of which, to begin with, they were very poorly fed. They had no housing, and basically they had to do what they knew how to do to survive. So they were excellent net makers and fishermen.
When I started, it was mostly storytelling. Then after that, they discovered that I was a good cook, Haitian culture cook, and they started to have me perform also. I make fish, I make beignets, which are typically Haitian food. And then later on, they discovered my talent for folk medicine, my science for folk medicine. So also last year I did a workshop on folk medicine, and the people were very happy because they can use the leaves that I was showing to them. It was a plus. But this year I did a workshop on how to tell a creek crack. The creek crack is so particular to the Haitian people. For a long time, that's all we had. The stories at night, the song, the folk song, the stories. Of course, now it's a different story. The world is changing.
I think every different culture, at least that I know of, has a different kind of dominoes. The only other dominoes that I know any of the rules of is Dominican dominoes, and they typically play with tiles that go up to 6. Cuban dominoes will play with tiles that go up to 9. This one, for example, has a 7 on this side. That's what I mean by going up to 6 or 9. The way you play it is by individual sides. So this half will go up to 7, 8, or 9. Dominican dominoes only goes to 6. The other difference between Cuban and Dominican dominoes is that in Dominican dominoes, they'll play with every single tile. Cuban dominoes has a certain amount that are outside the game. I don't know what the reason for it is, but the effect is that in Dominican dominoes, you know exactly what is on the board. Every single tile will be played. In Cuban dominoes, there's these random tiles that I have no idea what's under these, which changes the way that you play and the way the strategy the way the strategy goes. So, since we won the last game, we're going to start. You want to go? Perfect.
That's the only double I had.
Okay.
As a Seminole, it's really important to learn how to do wood carving as a man. Because we did have separation of roles, but each of our roles kind of depended on the others, between the men and women. So we, even though there's separation of work and roles, we still depended on each other in order to work together and just day-to-day survival. And so wood carving is just one of those things, learning how to use an axe and how to use a hatchet, how to use a machete, and use those tools without injuring yourself. So learning how to build a chickie and how to make a mortar and pestle to grind corn, and how to carve spoons so your wife and family can cook food so everyone can eat, and how to make bows and arrows for the kids and things like that.
Shape note singing dates back to the earliest times in this country. It is 4-part a cappella singing. It's based on a 4-note scale, and it is sung out of a book called The Sacred Harp. Shape note and sacred harp are sometimes said as one thing. Shape note comes from earliest in New England. It found its way into the American South as folks migrated into the South and really took a stronghold in the South. You'll find it sung today primarily among primitive Baptist congregations. It is a living tradition. It's not something that's antiquated and is brought out as a museum piece. The folks that sing and will be singing here today are singing this as part of a living tradition.
Glorious things of thee are spoken, Zion, city of our God. He whose word can never be broken, for me, for his own abode. Marjorie sits on her porch and it's morning, chasing the words that spin round in her head.
Took my chances on a big jet plane. Never let him tell you that they're all the same.
Oh, Dixie. Oh, hey, Dixie. There's no more Dixie too. Thank you guys so much.
I think a lot of people they think of Florida and they think of obviously like Disney World and beaches and stuff, but that's really not Florida culture and history, That's people from other places coming down and doing that stuff. But yeah, there is a lot of culture here, a lot of Southern culture, just with food and music and stuff like that, that's unique to this part of the country. Guys like Frank Thomas, man, really opened my eyes to that. Like there is like a certain style of Florida folk music. I almost want to say it's like a subgenre of country or bluegrass or something. But it's its own unique thing, and I love those songwriters like Frank Thomas that write about Florida and Florida history and Florida culture and things that go on here that don't go on in other parts of the country, you know what I mean? It's really cool, and this festival like embodies that whole thing with the music and the different subcultures that we have in Florida, whether it be like the Hispanic, Cubano stuff coming out of Miami, to the bluegrass stuff upstate Florida, and it's just so much. I love the folk life stuff that they have here, the old cracker cowboys talking about their way of life, and the old catfish fishermen that are still running trot lines and stuff, you know what I mean? It's cool to see all that here. You can find it all in one park in one weekend. It's pretty awesome.
The Florida Folk Festival is held annually in the Stephen Foster Folk Culture Center State Park in White Springs. You've been watching Florida Frontiers, presented by the Florida Historical Society. Visit us anytime on the web at myfloridahistory.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Brotemarkle. The Florida Historical Society presents Florida Frontiers is made possible in part by the Jessie Ball DuPont Fund and by
Florida's Space Coast Office of Tourism, representing destinations from Titusville to Cocoa Beach to Melbourne Beach. The Space Coast has a diverse 72 miles of beach, including surf towns and sea turtle nests. We have inspiring attractions, including the Kennedy Space Center, Brevard Museum of History and Natural Science, and the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. More information is available at www.visitspacecoast.com.
And by the Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, the Florida Council of Arts and Culture, and the State of Florida.